All right, now we're on to stuff that's more recurring basis. So we're going to call it a line item deliverable. So you might do it monthly, you might have more than one a month, you might do it quarterly, but it's going to be part of your standard offering. And this is for those of you who, instead of saying, here's an all-inclusive package, this is where you're kind of line iteming out what you're delivering to, for folks. You can still kind of, bake it in, so to speak. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're going to line item everything out, you still have some of the, some of the same issues with, the clients are aware of them. So there's a lot of visibility and they may want input. There's going to be some questions and explanations. And then a lot of times, if you're sending out regular press releases that they know about, they're going to want to have client approval before sending out the release, which can kind of drag the process down pretty bad. So you want to be careful that you're knowing what you're getting into with that. Again, good margins though, right? You'll see that as a pretty common theme, right? Your good margins are there. You sell that $125 press release for $300 every single time, like clockwork. It can be more SEO focused since it is a core part of your offering. It's a core part of your strategy. So now you're building in all the SEO elements of it, and you're focused less on the branding and much more on the SEO benefits of it. And obviously, as a recurring line item, it is a recurring profit center. So this should really be the minimum goal that you want to reach, recurring releases that you're charging for, that you're making money for on a regular basis. One downside that I didn't put in here is this can kind of lock you in, and we'll talk about why that's not the best bet in a minute. But it can kind of lock you into sending out a certain number of press releases every month. And, I do recommend that you not do that, because, you'll be able to, build out your budget a little bit better, and you increase your margins down the road, and which we'll talk about in the next slide. But any questions about this sort of thing? Cool. Oh, one more. With more visible clients, it would be nice to have an option to change the auto-approve settings per organization instead of globally. I agree, it would. We have some technical limitations as to why we can't do that right now. My new developer started today, however, so we should be able to start getting some of these things, kind of nailed down. Mary, when I say it gets you locked in, what that means is if you're, as part of your offering, you're presenting this is what we're going to do for you every month. We're going to send 2 press releases for you every month. 6 months down the road, you may not need to send 2 press releases every month, because you're not getting that benefit anymore. Because if you remember from one of our earlier sessions, one of my recommendations is that you're doing those 2 press releases a month for 3, maybe 6 months, and then you back off to 1 every 6 weeks. Start at 1 a month for a couple months, and then back off to 1 every 6 weeks. Well, if you're billing, if you told them you're doing 2 a month like clockwork, you have to keep doing 2 a month like clockwork, and that's a problem, right? Because now you're using press releases that you've paid for as part of your agency. You don't need to use them for this client anymore, but you've committed to doing that, which is why I like the next model better, which we'll just jump into right now.